BAFTAs. They knew what they were doing. Okay. Um, Hi everybody, welcome to Psyche's Thoughts. My name isn't Psyche, it's Elizabeth, and you're here, I'm here, we're here because I've made the commitment to get on here and share a random thought with you all every day. Okay, I don't know. My hair's a mess, whatever, it's not the point. The point is I don't want to look like a floating head, but like, because my hair is brown, if I'm not like, anyway, the light is like, I don't know, whatever. That's not the point. I kind of want to rush this because I want to go to sleep, but I also don't want to rush this because this is not a joke to me. Like, I think that what BAFTAs did, and again, this is my thought, my opinion. What BAFTAs did, they utilized this opportunity. They utilized a very um particular circumstance to, I guess, vent their frustration. And we'll get there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is basically the spark notes. Okay. So Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, two stars from the movie Sinners, um, they were on stage to present an award. I think it was for visual effects. I believe it was the award for visual effects. And in the middle of them giving their speech, that presenters usually give before they say the nominees or whatever the case may be, someone from the crowd says the N word with the hard ER. Now, we come to later find out, due to the host coming back up, that the person in the crowd that says the N word cannot control his outbursts because he has a condition called Tourette's and he didn't mean to, right? Now, do Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan know this when they're being called N-word on stage? No, they don't know this. But this is what the host says. Okay, right. He says, "You may have heard some strong and offensive language tonight." Then he says Tourette's syndrome is a disability and the tics you have heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you were offended. Okay. So, hmm. That's the situation that happened. Let's go into my opinion. My opinion. To me, it has been very obvious that the film world and just like, I guess, Hollywood in general. Would I say Hollywood? Because BAFTA is a British, is with the BBC, which is owned by Britain. But the film world, I'm going to say, right? They wrote off Sinners, right? Before Sinners ever even came out, people were saying that it was gonna flop. People were saying a whole bunch of things about Sinners. Lo and behold, Sinners was drastically successful. I mean, overly. I'm a person that I don't really watch a lot of new movies. I watched Sinners. I did. I watched it late, but like I watched it and I loved it. And okay, yeah, nobody was expecting for Sinners to do well. They wrote off Ryan Coogler. They wrote off the movie. They weren't expecting Sinners to do well. In my opinion, they probably weren't expecting Sinners to do well because I feel like a lot of the film world is actually very delusional about what they think that people want to see. But that's a conversation for a different day, right? And I think that Sinners doing well might have intimidated a lot of people because not only did Sinners do like so really well, it's one of the most like famous, or it's one of the it's like one of the movies of the year, right? I can't really name many more off the top of my head that did extremely well this year. Last year that were, you know, like, but Sinners, was extremely well. It's culture relevant, it's anything that you would ask for when you have, it's the type of success that people want to have when they have movies that are released. Okay. And yeah, I think that two star, I feel like A lot of people in the film world and maybe at the BAFTAs would be very satisfied, whether consciously or subconsciously, to see two stars from the one of the biggest movies from last year be humbled publicly. And humbled publicly they got not because they got called the N-word slur by somebody that couldn't control the fact that they said the N-word slur, but because you're gonna get called a slur on TV. We're not gonna censor it. We're not gonna censor it. So everybody's going to know you got called a slur. One, we're not gonna censor it, and we're not going to really have any conversation with you about this and why it happened. You're just going to get called a slur and you're gonna eat that. That is the type of humiliation I feel like they wanted to give um sinners and wanted to be associated with sinners. And they did something very similar with Moonlight, if you remember. Even though, again, I believe that was a genuine mistake, but I mean, whatever. Interesting. That mistake was really interesting. Okay, I have notes. BAFTA and BBC, right? That night, they chose to censor political jokes. They chose to censor somebody saying free Palestine in their acceptance speech. They chose to censor curse words, like actual profanity. They chose to take that out of the, because it runs on a 2 hour delay, right? So they can go and post and they can remove things. And immediately after the situation happened, Warner Brothers asked BBC and BAFTA, hey, can you take the slur out? Can you take the slur out? Can you censor the slur? That request was ignored. So you made the conscious decision to take out certain things and leave in a racial slur directed at two black men. Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's just lovely. I, okay, cool. I mean, cool, right? Then they have the host basically tell the audience that, you know, you can be offended, but it's kind of your fault if you're offended because the person that said it can't control what they said. So, like, you're not supposed to be offended because if you're, so now people are stuck in having this conversation of if you're offended, you're ableist because John Davidson cannot control the fact that he called them the N-word. When in reality, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Conscious or the point I'm trying to make here, conscious or unconsciously, someone at BAFTAs made the choice, made a decision to not remove that slur, right? So I heard it, right? And unconsciously or consciously, someone at BAFTA wanted to use this event as a stunt for publicity, one, and a coded message. In my opinion, a coded message to black talent, to black actors, directors, and the black audience. You guys are N-words. You're nothing but N-words. Yeah, you made movies. You make movies that are, critically acclaimed. You make movies that make money, but you're still just N-words. And this man who cannot help the fact, and he probably feels horrible, he cannot help the fact that he's going to vent that. But since he vented that frustration, I'm going to leave it in there because I want everyone to know that we see you as N-words. When you make a conscious choice to be grossly negligent in that manner, that is the only assumption that I can come up with. You wanted people to hear Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo get called the N-word because you think they're N-words. They use John Davidson's tick as a means to vent their anger. And I want to be very clear. This is not me saying, this is not me blaming John Davidson. This is not me saying that John Davidson did it on purpose because I genuinely don't think that he did it on purpose. Um, I read a few articles and even he's horrified. First of all, that's what he claims. He claims that he's horrified and he questions why he was seated so close to the mic in the first place, especially because he has a disability that would have the potential to disrupt an award system and an award cycle. Um, I don't want to have this conversation about did he mean it, did he not, because I feel like that's too reductive. That's way too reductive. I don't think he meant it. I don't think he meant it. Anyway, and this is not the space for you to say come here and say that he meant it. John Davidson had an outburst. Could he control his outburst? No. Sorry, there's a spider. I'm trying to act normal, but there's a spider crawling on my curtain. He had an outburst. That's horrifying. You know what else is you know what is uniquely horrifying? Getting called an N-word. Do you know what's uniquely horrifying? Getting called the N-word in public. Do you know what is uniquely horrifying? Being an actor, presenting an award to other actors, being amongst your peers, okay, getting called the N-word, right? And then the people that you're presenting for choosing to do nothing about it, nothing to rectify the situation. Do you know what's uniquely horrifying? Your mother being in the crowd, your family being in the crowd as you are presenting an award and getting called the N-word, and your mother leaves out of the room crying. Because again, no matter how much money the movie makes, no matter how good the movie is, no matter no matter how good the movie is, to BAFTAs, you're nothing but N-words. Okay, moving forward. They let a disabled man vent their anger. They decide to use this disabled man's tick to send a message, and the message has been received, and I hope they're ready for what happens when the message is received, because one thing I think that the American audience is very good for, and the Black American audience is very good for, is organization, especially when it's time to boycott something. I feel like Black Americans are very good at that, are uniquely good at it in a way that probably Black people from in the diaspora can very learn from. I hope you're ready for what that means. I hope you're ready for the message that you've given has been received, so I hope you're ready for what that means. BAFTA, BBC. Okay, beautiful. The future. It's always been my hope that Black people globally are able to create some sort of academy award system, award cycle of our own, because I don't know, I feel like it's hard, right? Because it's not like Sinners does not deserve to be at the BAFTAs. Sinners deserves to be at the BAFTAs. They deserve to be critically acclaimed. Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan deserve to have a great press run. They deserve to present awards. They deserve to be in the community amongst their peers and be recognized amongst their peers. But I think that for the future, and for I think the for Black art to thrive in the future, there needs to be some creation of our own things, our own award systems, because if not, I fear that things like this will keep on happening, and people will just continue to feel like they are supposed to accept them, and then also Black art will just continue to be undermined again in the way that Moonlight was. Attention from the art, attention from masterpieces will get diverted because of spectacle. uh, I want Delroy Lindo, I want Michael B. Jordan, I want Black artists, directors, actors, talent to get the have the recognition that they deserve without having to be in the space of cognitive dissonance, where you're supposed to accept a complete lack of regard and respect and subhuman treatment, because that's subhuman treatment. You don't let somebody get called a slur, you don't, and do nothing to rectify that situation. That means you don't regard them as human. Anyway, I'm done. They deserve to be in a space where they're not treated subhuman. They deserve to be recognized and not have to put up with nonsense. I don't know. Whatever. That's all I have to say today. What do you think about the situation? Let me know in the comments below. If you're watching this at night, have a good night. More of me. I'm a writer, yeah, allegedly. No, not allegedly. I'm not a fraud no more, so I'm not supposed to be saying that. I am a writer. If you want to see my work, um, you can go to psychesthoughts.com. I'm also on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. TikTok is playing with me. I don't know what that's about, but that's very frustrating. So yeah, that's where I also get the most support, which is why it's uniquely frustrating. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Bye bye.